Okay, so hopefully this is running. Why did I compare a Martin guitar to this $300 guitar, and what are some issues with this guitar that I might not have mentioned? Now, let me just get really quick and down to the point. This guitar is $300, and I compared it to a Martin guitar, and someone in the comments seemed upset. And I'll address, and I'm not mad at you. It's actually a fair question. Why would you compare a Martin to this? Now, the reason I did that is simply because they're both small black guitars in my collection, so it seemed like a pretty obvious comparison. On top of the fact that I do have an X series, but my X series is a dreadnought. It would make more sense to compare this to an X series, but it still doesn't, because an X series costs, in Canada, 3 times more than this. So it's not even fair to the X series. Like, the fact is, I've played a lot of X series guitars. Like, I've test driven a lot of them, and I own one now, and I've owned probably 3 in my lifetime. They're great. Like, those are my favorite budget guitars. But if I did a direct comparison between this and an X series, the X series would get blown out of the water in so many ways. Like, for one, these tuners are better than X series tuners. Now, I'll get to all the cons too, so just keep listening. These tuners are better than X series tuners, hands down. The gig bag it comes with, my X series didn't come with a gig bag at all. This has a top that doesn't have a seam in it, and it has more real wood than an X series does. Like, if you think about it, if the sides and back of this are solid wood, like I have solid wood guitars, this can't be fake. They sat and finished and open poured this, so it's like they did all that to prove it's real. On the inside of the guitar, you can feel the pores too, so it's like they dyed it all black to make it look fake, but this is solid back and sides. Like, somehow they got a bunch of solid back and sides and they just use carbon, I guess, as a cost-saving measure. I'm all for it, though. This saves the environment. If they popularize this, you're saving the environment. Like, that's just beautiful. They could make a guitar this small out of the scraps from real solid wood guitars and carbon. And the fretboard is, like, not ebony. It looks like ebony. It feels... it feels like ebony right after you hydrate it. 2 of my guitars have ebony fretboards. 2 of my acoustics. And this feels pretty good. But, and I'm being very picky here, and this is the other thing. X series guitars, at least the 3 that I've owned, and the one that I own right now, they have like plastic cardboard, or like some kind of Richlite fretboard that doesn't feel this good. I don't even know if this is also Richlite, but this fretboard feels good. It doesn't feel like wood, but there's enough wood and open pore in your hand. It's like you still get the feel and smell of wood while playing a carbon acoustic, which is like, the problem with carbon acoustics is, to me, they sound like plastic cans. This sounds like a wood guitar to like a certain extent. You still get some of those harmonies that the back and sides, the mahogany back and sides still adds. And they are actually, like, I didn't want to believe it, because some companies, like, I'll be straight, youre says that their center block and their 335 is mahogany, I think, and it's totally not. There's no way that's roasted mahogany inside there. I mean, it's possible, maybe there's a really white variant looking mahogany, but that looks like pine or alder to me inside that thing. Is probably pine. And mine, it cracked on the inside, but they did right by me. youre's a great company. They'll solve your issues with customer service. I'm still waiting on Joyo. I'll update on that, because I'm going to be making videos pretty often. I may even make more than one a day. But I just wanted to address the whole carbon versus Martin debate, because it's not a debate. Martin is better, obviously, okay? Martin is obviously better than any Donner. The worst Martin is still kind of, in a lot of ways, better than the best Donner, especially for playability, for warranty, for customer service, as far as, like, the people at customer service knowing what you need from them. But really, my point is this, okay? I'll get to my real point. The Donner is so much cheaper that if you're a beginner, Martin is not, and I was a beginner one, like, a long time ago. Martin's not in your price range if you're a beginner. Like, they're not. You're not getting a Martin if you are a beginner most of the time, unless someone's buying the guitar for you. Not many people are going to spend $1,000 when you could get 3 guitars for $1,000 on the used market. It doesn't make sense to spend like $8,000 to $1,000 in a store for a guitar that costs twice what this costs. And, like, that's kind of the thing. If someone was going to spend what they were going to spend on an X series or a Taylor, this is what I tell people on Reddit all the time. Don't buy a new I mean, this is bad for shops, but I'm sorry. I'd rather promote the used market over shops at this point, because it's the guitar companies that are screwing us. And the fact is, unless you're willing to bite the bullet and buy a new Alvarez or a new Epiphone inspired by Gibson or something, this is really the best beginner option in my opinion. Like, you don't have to worry about bellying, you don't have to worry, and this is actually a better guitar in my opinion. This beats most Martins outside of like my guitar, which is a 00017. Like anything in the OM series or like a Larrivee OM40 in their brand range. You have to get into orchestra models, parlors, and triple O's to really have a comfortable under the armpit feeling acoustic. Like, I'm sitting cross-legged on the floor with this just on one knee. I couldn't do this with a Dreadnought. Dreadnought, you understand, if I put a Dreadnought here, I'm sitting like this. This is how much smaller. Look at how I'm sitting right now. This is how much smaller this guitar is. So obviously this is not as good as a Martin. I wasn't trying to imply that it was as good as a Martin. I just wanted to do a sound comparison between this and Martin so that people understood, like, yeah, Martin sounds better. Does that much sonic difference, is that worth much? It's worth that much to me. I would pay, I'm actually looking at a Boucher right now. Like, that's how much sonic performance means to me. But to a beginner, like, how much does that matter? They can't even play like a simple chord like that. So it's like, does it matter if that sounds exactly like it would sound on a Martin? Do you know what I mean? And like, that's part of why I encourage people to get good guitars the first time out. This is a very good guitar. Like, it sounds, all the tricky like stuff that I can do on like expensive acoustics, I can pull them off on this. And that's kind of how I can tell. There are caveats though, and this is like, I've saved the best for last, because the best is the cons. Okay, the cons to this guitar, and I did not mention this, so I feel like it's my obligation, because nobody's really going to talk about this. Most people are just like shills, right? So the cons of this guitar are pretty huge, and they have to be noted. I play in classical position. Like, I play with the guitar in my lap and up like this, because I started a long time ago with classical guitar. So my most natural playing position with acoustic is in the middle, because I can play like this for hours, especially if the guitar is small. That's why I love my 00017. This has heavy tuners. Okay, there are mods you will need to do to this. 2 mods that you will need to do to this guitar, and I'll contact Donner about this and see if like there's anything they want to do for me. But there are 2 caveats with this guitar, and I have to list them right now. One of them, the tuners are the heaviest acoustic tuners. Let me show you something, okay? I'm holding this. Watch when I let go. I'm going to do that again. Hands are up. Hands are propping the guitar up. Like, this arm is propping the guitar up. Watch when I let go. Immediately, doesn't just slide down, it slides this way. It slides this way and down, because the tuners are super heavy. They're super high quality, but they're super heavy. I don't know what guitar I would put these tuners on, but they're very big and rounded. They're kind of like stylized to be bigger than they need to be, and I hate that. So I don't know why it's focusing on the mic stand, but seriously, this guitar has heavy tuners. It has crazy neck dive. It has a strap button right here, which also is going to piss people off, because strap button here is the best place to put it, but that's not where people are going to want it. People are going to complain about that. So my recommendation is use a strap with a string, hold the neck up here with this, you know, you're going to have to do it Martin style, old school Neil Young style, to have a strap here and here, so you just kind of suspend the guitar like this. That would work fine. And it's very light, so you're not going to care. It's just to keep it stuck there in that position. Or I just play like this, and my arm's always here, so it never falls. I didn't even realize that, though, and that's a point. It's a huge point for you. If you play with it on your right knee, like most people, you're going to need to change the tuners. And that's kind of the thing. It's a very light guitar. I'd say it's probably 2-3 pounds, 2.5, 3 pounds. And I'm a weight weenie with bikes, so my pickup guess is pretty accurate. But it's a light guitar, but that's why the weight being here, and the weight being here so heavy. And here's the fix. I'll get to the fix real quick. Open gear tuners. Golden Gates or Waverleys by Open Gear Tuners. Tuners where you can see the gear and look at all of the different tuners on when you're shopping for them, and just look for the smallest ones. Like, as long as the post for the tuning head, as long as that post is beefy enough, the tuner itself doesn't have to be big and thick. It's fine. Like, from my experience, Golden Gates work. as well as wave release. Like, I've never used a tuner that is actually performs much better than an E-Art or an Ibanez stock tuner. And that's just facts. Like, I'm just saying that. They might feel smoother, but if you know how to cut your nut properly and lubricate it, you're not going to have most of the problems most people have with tuning. Now, the other thing is, the other thing about this guitar is the fact that it's fretwork, and I didn't get over this. I didn't mention this because I didn't notice it. I have a triangle that I machine. That's my fret level, my fret checker, and I check the frets, and they're not level at all. And I was wondering why I was getting rattled on certain strings. Like, you might not be able to hear that. There's a slight rattle. I have very strong. Like, I play with my hands only, and my thumb is my bass. My thumb plays all the bass. For 20 years, I've only played like that. I don't use thumb picks. So, and that's not criticism. It's just I just don't. I can't get used to them. I have a long thumbnail, and I always have. So it's like, for me, like, I play with high action, so I didn't even notice the fretwork was bad. Like, it is. I'm just gonna say it is bad. The fretwork on a Martin is 10 times better than it is on this. So Martin's 10 times more expensive, and that's valid. Like, they deserve to charge 10 times more. That is a better playing guitar than this from that angle. If you need low action, you could set this to the lowest action you could set on any acoustic. That would work. And all you have to do is just take the bridge out and put a new bridge in, because the way they designed this bridge is really well designed, where it's two level. The way that Alvarez does, like, a low part of the bridge where the pins go in, and a high part of the bridge where the saddle sits. You would say, like, they're always like that, not this accentuated. And the reason that's important is you don't need to slot the bridge pin holes to still have a good break angle over the saddle as you go over. So you could have the saddle basically bottomed out, and you would still have, well, 1 millimeter up, and you'd still have sufficient break angle to get a string to sustain. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on this guitar. I think it's worth it if those things don't matter to you. If you don't mind low tension but high action, because you're probably going to have to play it like this until you get it properly set up or level the frets yourself, which I would never do. I would never get sandpaper near this myself and work on it, because you could very easily sand carbon and it's done. Like, you'll never... Anyway, my point is, this is a great guitar. It's a great value proposition for a new guitarist because it's so low tension. You could play this with medium gauge strings and it would just scream, and it would still be pretty easy to play because the short scale length is so short, and it's just such a small body guitar. This is what Stratacustics, this is what all those like fake electroacoustics are kind of trying to be. This is what Ovation is trying to achieve, for like actual sonic quality while still being playable. The back of this isn't bold though, so it doesn't slip around in your lap this way and this way. But and that's why I hate Ovations. But yeah, you have to keep that in mind, is like you're gonna have to change these tuners or play with a strap if you play with it on this knee. The strap that comes with it is the best. It's like seatbelt material. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say.